Good afternoon, Facebook and YouTube communities. My name is Jennifer Noreen. I'm with Beyond Brand Collective, and I'm here with Zsofia Pasztor, who is the founder of Farmer Frog here in Washington State. And we're going to learn today what Farmer Frog is. In the spirit of giving back, I just want to give this wonderful organization a platform to talk about what she does and what they do and how they're helping Washingtonians and people in general. So, good afternoon, Zsofia. How are you? Can
I'm
you hear
doing
me?
really good. Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Good. So
Yeah.
can you
Do
tell
you
me a little
hear
bit about
do you hear me?
what,
Yeah, good.
yeah, so what do you do?
Well, I am one of the co-founders and executive co-directors of Farmer Frog and now also the Fresh Food Coalition.
Hmm.
And personally, I was born and raised in Hungary during the tail end of the Soviet era in 1987. My husband and I immigrated and went through a couple of years in a refugee camp, waited for someone to pick us up, and then the US accepted us, and we arrived to the US in 1989. At the time, it was a real cultural shock, and it took us a while to get our footing, and also learned that food and access to the food, access to the right food, culturally comfortable food was very important to feel at home and also to be able um, to integrate and into the surrounding society. We we leveraged a lot of things. We learned the language. We went to school. We worked hard, but we also got a lot of support through the various social programs that were available at the time, particularly one through United Way that was fiscal discipline and learning, while it also provided us, as we participated, with opportunities to save funding and have it matched. And that really changed our lives significantly for the better with
And when
my
was
husband
that?
and by then kids. And as we went through that was during the 1990s. And as we were going through, we really had a strong decision that when opportunities come, we want to give back to the community. And that led us to um, to start work within the community at various levels in multiple nonprofits and eventually launching Farmer Frog. So
Okay.
15
So you,
years ago, at the time, we didn't realize that we are starting Farmer Frog, but that's what it grew to be.
yeah, so you
We
didn't set
began
out
at
so you didn't set out to create the farming community and the source of food for Washington State. You set out to give back to the community in some way and ended up, did this organization
uh,
sort of grow organically?
yeah, yes. So what we did set out to do, because we are horticulturists and know we also are urban agriculturists and know a lot about growing food um, well in small spaces, we did set out to create a school garden in the end of 2009 and or 2010 in South Everett at a Title I school where our kids were also going to. And, that was the Great Recession. And during that time, a lot of people experienced hardship. They lost their homes, they lived out of their car, and they were parking at the school because if felt safe. So we wanted to grow some food to enable the families who were facing serious foods insecurities, and we did that. But out of that, quickly realized needs. that the community asked us for on teaching people how to do this at home, teaching teachers how to use the school garden as an outdoor classroom, maybe support with curriculum, maybe support with other programming, talking about cooking and nutrition and how to prepare the food that they were getting. So it evolved and grew fast, and now, and then came COVID. So before COVID, we were supporting 25,000 households with food through our many school garden sites. At the time, we had quite a few in the area, and also college campus mini farms and such. And then when COVID hit, there was a need for emergency response, which we stepped into. And with our experience in logistics and transportation and such, we were able to really make a significant contribution. And during the 2 years, 2020 through 2022, we were regularly supporting over 3 million people in 38 states. That with whatever need they had. It was food, supplies, the various stops of the supply chain and emergency response. As we were
So,
working there, this.
so let me stop you for a second. So your mission,
Uh-huh.
just because people don't know who you are, what it is you do, and so your mission in general is to sprout simple change, grow kids, cultivate community, and nurture habitat for all living beings. So you started by nurturing families, teaching them how to garden for themselves, being involved in the schools, and then you evolved into a giving entity that was growing and distributing food to the community, right? So how did that transition happen
Yes.
from this,
Yes.
just wanting to help in general to now serving millions of people food? How did that leap happen?
Overnight. It literally happened overnight. We had the connections, we had the ability to do this, and people were seeking us out because there was a really big vacuum. The system was overloaded, and this is actually what we learned. Our food system in the U.S. is very fragile, and it still is. During catastrophic disasters such as the pandemic was, it crumbles quickly, and we we stepped in to avoid where people needed help. We had friends and network connections who were able to also provide some of that, and they needed to be connected, and we provided that connection.
Wow, that's
And
amazing. So it grew very
we
quickly and
also
very,
worked,
wow.
yeah,
It just, we're
very
overlapping each
quickly,
other,
very
sorry, but it
quickly.
just grew very
We
quickly based on need, it sounds like.
Yes, yes. Our programs are usually a response to community need and community request. So we don't sit around and come up with a program and then go to the community and say, we're going to do this next. It's more like we get a call, or a lot of calls in this case, and there is clearly a need, and we look around and say, how can we help with this? So
Hmm.
that's how our programs generally begin and evolve. We also established amazing relationships, particularly with a handful of local community groups who stepped in, and we formed the Fresh Food Coalition. We now, have been since COVID worked together daily with the National Tribal Emergency Management Council, with the Silent Task Force, and groups like International Nutritional Sustainability Partners, faith-based organizations, schools, Nourishing Network, and others, linking arms, and really starting to not just providing assistance, but looking at the need for food sovereignty.
Yeah, this blew me
This is
away
a
because
systemic
this,
issue, a really big challenge.
Yeah, this is a small portion of the organizations that Farmer Frog works with to distribute food.
Hmm.
And it doesn't even all fit on one page how many organizations you've matched up
Yeah,
together to serve this need. That's just amazing to me. Wow. That's quite a collaboration.
yeah, yeah. It is, and with some of our key partners, what we are really looking at is bringing food back to our local communities all across the country to a level of maybe not complete, but as close as we can get to self-reliance. We
Mm-hmm.
used to be growing our food. The native community grew all their food before the colonization began.
Mm-hmm.
After that, the US became a very much agricultural nation. We used to be importing food instead of exporting food instead of importing food. And
Mm-hmm.
we nowadays, but it's not a recent problem. This has been going on for the last couple of decades for sure. When you go to the grocery store and you pick something up, chances are that it's imported and it has thousands of miles attached to it. And unfortunately, a lot of times also what happens is while local food is very expensive, it's still not providing enough wages to our farmers so they can make a sustained living. And that results in the loss of our farmer population. The US overall population has right around 1.5% of our people are farmers, and less than 2% of that are actually farmers who own their land and belong to the historically underrepresented communities, native people, black and brown folks, immigrants. It's a very great challenge to have land access. And
Mm-hmm.
it's also really alarming how little of the food that the people eat we really grow at home. And that to me is actually a big security risk when we really think about it.
Yeah, so when we're
So
100%
farming
dependent on the grocery
needs
store,
to
right?
be we need to really rework this, and that's the Fresh Food Coalition focus is really talking about food sovereignty and what does that mean? Because our global network, while we want to foster friendships and peace and healthy relationships between all the various regions around the world. At the same time, we really need to rely on our own home, people, land, seeds when we're talking about our own food that we eat every day.
Yeah.
So,
So
so
can
those
you
are
talk
those
about
are the things that came out of this.
Yeah, so yeah, can you? I was going to say talk about the biggest challenges, and I know one of the things you mentioned to me when we were preparing for this was the change in administration, um, not necessarily negative or positive. You're not sure yet, but what is the change of administration going to bring for you? Is that going to be a challenge you can overcome? Are you still sort of waiting to see how that's going to affect you, or what? How is
Mhm.
that? How is that playing out for you so far? I know we're not there yet, really, but we will
Yeah,
be come January.
yeah. Well, yes, there is a lot of waiting and watching, but we were able to create. So during 2020, which was the first Trump administration era, the USDA responded to COVID releasing what was called Farmers to Family Food Box Program.
Mm-hmm.
And while the food quality varied based on who supplied, where it was going, all of that, we saw some amazing food boxes coming through, and we saw some really not so good ones. But in the end, this was a program that enabled millions of people receiving regularly some support with food. that contained some fresh produce, it contained some dairy, and in some cases, even some meat, and there was no red tape. It, it wasn't necessarily culturally relevant, and and that's something that we can easily fix because over the past few years we've been working through various ways in the in this concept. And in the state of Washington, we also had WSDA step in and help with some of that. So, of course, this is not providing enough support, but it's a good learning experience, and it's definitely providing some significant help, measurable help. But yeah, that was a good response. And then during the last 4 years with the Biden administration, they created a hunger and nutrition conference in 2022 and marked the goal to end hunger in the country by 2030. And while it is a huge goal, they were serious to make a big impact. And I have to say that there really is no reason for the richest country in the world to have anyone hungry any given day of the year, unless they choose to be hungry. Poverty needs to become a choice, really, when we are talking about all of this. And if someone wants to live a poor life, they can, but it should never be something that they just deal with because that's it. That's their fate. So
Yeah, I love your
we
concept of
we
food. I love your concept of sovereignty and food sovereignty and being independent and providing such an opposite of what
mhm,
the culture is today, where we're so dependent on the grocery store and we're, the food prices are bogged down by
yes.
transportation and
And
gas and
so
all those
as
other things.
we are yeah,
Yeah, and it's the
absolutely.
opposite. It's
Absolutely.
taking
As
us
we are
another
looking
direction for
forward to
sure.
the next 4 years, you know?
Yeah. So you're
Yes.
kind of waiting. So
And
we'll
as we
we'll
are
talk.
looking at the next 4 years, yeah,
I was just going to say we'll talk again, after,
yes,
maybe in February. I would love to get your update in February once you have more of a
yeah,
feel of what this current administration will be doing and the shift that it may cause, for the good or the bad or the ugly, and how you're going to respond to that. But when you're not doing Farmer Frog, I'm going to put you on the spot. So when you're not at work, when you're not feeding others, what are you doing for fun for Zsofia? What do you enjoy? Just to let people get to know you a little bit as a person. What do you spend time doing? Are you truly in the garden always, or?
no, I used to be. I used to be, but as we getting older, we actually living in a condo, and it's very nice not to have to do the garden at home. But
Hmm.
I love cooking, so I often cook. I experiment with recipes. We love going on walks and exploring the areas around us, museums and wine walk in Snohomish. I can only recommend, and just things like that. Exploring with community members and friends, and just hanging out. It's a good thing to do, and it's really important that we take those breaks.
Yeah, being in the outdoors and relaxing, enjoying friends. Well, thank you for today. We're right about out of time, and I want to hear more, especially going into February with what the shifts are that are coming, hopefully that are positive. And we'll get a chance for you to talk more about your school programs and just more details of what you've mentioned today. But I think you've given us a good introduction of what it is your organization does, and I look forward to learning more. So, if someone is interested in volunteering with your organization, I'm going to pull this up on your website as we close here. What should they do? Hold
They
on.
should contact us through the website, and that will send us an email, and we will be engaging with them and letting them know of the next opportunity.
So there's a volunteer tab here, And I would think, is there a form? Oh, here we go.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is
Yeah,
a
so
form.
here we
Yeah.
go. Yeah, you see, you want to go to the forms area of the website and
Yeah.
fill out the form. All right. Well, I
Well, and
appreciate your,
they can contact us anytime. Yeah.
yep, to sign up to help. Well, thank you again. I so enjoy hearing about your organization. I love what it does. I'm determined to get my hands in the dirt at some point with you. I also am a gardener and a lover of nature, and I love the idea of teaching children how to sustain and provide food for their families and for themselves, and just introducing that early in life is just very exciting to me. So what you do. So, but thank you, and we'll talk again in February. Thanks, Zsofia.
Okay.